I would also price out a new kitchen because the stuff that they're giving you, not necessarily they, but not everybody, I'm sure, like ours were an upgraded package. And it may look nicer and be more functional, but it's shit quality. Like my doors are falling off, the trim is peeling, like it's not nice.
Welcome to episode 85 of KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. We are your hosts, Ariel Kormendy and Adrian Trott, my trusty partner.
What's up? This is a quick one. You got a busy day. We got offers coming in on a property, right?
It's very, very, very busy today. But we have an important topic, one that a lot of our clients and followers have been approaching us with. And speaking specifically to people that have purchased new homes from new home builders. And a lot of, was that funny?
Buy new homes from new home builders. It's just a little bit redundant. That's okay. I'm just continue on with your explanation of the topic.
This is what I got to put up with all the time. So the questions we get quite often are we get quite a few questions about new homes. Should I have a home inspection?
You did. I didn't. You did.
What are the best upgrades to purchase with the builder? And what should I spend money on in terms of upgrades or features in the house after I get the keys? Those are three very, very common, common questions. Do I need a home inspection? Where do I spend the money with the builder in terms of upgrades? And is there anything I should spend the money on after closing?
And one thing I'll just jump in really quick to recommend, anyone that's bought a new house needs to plan ahead for the sale, and get a real estate agent selected and involved right away. Like we've got a handful of people closing in December, January, February already that we've been talking to for months. So we're able to keep them on top of the market so they know what's going on. They have realistic expectations. If we need to pull the trigger sooner than later, we can. The last thing you want, and we get this often, is somebody calling us saying, "Hey, I close in 30 days on my new house. Can you come and list it for sale?"
And we see both sides.
My current house for sale. Sorry.
Yeah, we see both sides of the equation. We see people that are planning a year and a half away.
Yeah.
They purchase the new build and we get the call right away. Oftentimes we get the call to even help them review the contract and get our opinion on price and elevation upgrades and things like that. But then we see the opposite where people are like, "Oh shit, we close in 60 days or 90 days for our new home. We better find an agent to get our home on the market." And I think part of that is people just believe that the market is so good in the GTA that their home is going to sell quickly, and they don't understand. Sometimes, they think, "Oh, I'm just going to call somebody and tomorrow or later this week the house will be on the market." Well, it doesn't happen like that, and that's certainly not a way to command top dollar for your home. So that's a good point, a valid point. So let's talk about these three areas real quick, or these three subtopics real quick. Home inspection. So you mentioned I got one done, you didn't.
Just so people understand, because I think a lot of people don't even think about it or know that it's an option, but home inspections are obviously commonplace with resale. So when you buy a house, you have it inspected prior to firming up on a deal in most cases. But new construction, most people don't think of it because they assume everything's fine. But you have that Tarion warranty, and that's the reason for the inspection, is to make sure that anything you can get done under warranty through the builder before it becomes your cost needs to be caught as soon as possible.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about having a professional set of eyes, second set of eyes to look at the house inside and out. And in the home inspection that I had for my home, there was a couple of things identified that I probably would have overlooked or missed myself. One of which was inadequate insulation.
I remember that one. That stood out in my mind.
In the very front of my home, in one of the bedrooms. And even when I popped my head up there, I probably wouldn't have identified.
And just to clarify, sorry, I don't know if you actually said it, but inadequate insulation in the attic.
Correct.
Right.
I probably would have missed that.
What, are you having another Zoom meeting with somebody else?
No, it's a call coming in. I probably would have missed that on my own, not because I would not go up into the attic, but I probably wouldn't have been able to identify that in that one specific corner, it was inadequate. So imagine, you've got several inches less of insulation in one spot, and it was probably during construction, and the way it was blown in, that it was just done real quickly, or there was a gust of wind that just pushed.
And most people have no idea how much insulation is supposed to be up there. So even if they went up there and it looked evenly spread everywhere, they wouldn't know if you're supposed to have 8 inches or 16 inches. So they may not know to question it.
And then you have the thermal readings. So it was, we were able to identify that in certain pockets in the attic. So even where there was adequate insulation, there were a few pockets. So I don't know what happened during construction, but there were areas where there was heat loss. So it was on my 30-day Tarion warranty, and the builder came in and blew in some more insulation, and they actually then topped it up to over what it was supposed to be. So I got a little bit extra insulation from that.
Which in itself paid for the inspection.
Yeah, I would say so. And then a lot of little things. Specifically, there was some grading issues. One of the eaves troughs were not properly secured.
Would that happen to be the one that? Oh, that's the downspout now that keeps falling down at the side of our house.
Yeah. Got to get somebody in to fix that. That's for sure. So little things for sure that came up through it. That peace of mind. You're still spending lots of money, even though it's a new home. There's different contractors, somebody can have a bad day, right? Like, and all of a sudden they're blowing in your insulation. They just want to go home on a Friday, and they miss a spot. Well, after your 30 days, certainly after your 1 year, good luck in making any claims with the builder.
Right.
So for $500 on average, it's not a bad investment, and you get a report. And with that report, it makes it much easier to fill out your Tarion warranty. So in retrospect, if you were buying a new home now, like, why didn't you do one?
I don't know that I even thought of it. I feel like I did my own inspection. At this time, we were not in real estate. So I didn't even know it was something to consider. I just did my own inspection. I made all my own notes. I don't believe that I even went into the attic at that time. But anyways, I hadn't really considered it as an option. Then you told me you were getting it done. And that's what prompted me to say, oh, well, I didn't even know to consider that as something that people would do. And that's why I said that. I think there's tons of people that probably wouldn't even consider that. There's companies out there that specialize in this, and they even, they have their resale inspections, and they have their new construction home inspections. They are different. They're looking for different things, and specifically things that would be covered under the Tarion warranty.
Yep. And again, I think that's the key to it, is that somebody that knows, okay, you can claim this, this, and this on your Tarion. Why not have it completed, right? Like
Right.
it would not make sense to go on with owning the home and have warrantyable. Is that a word? Warrantyable.
Warrantyable. I think so.
Um,
Warrantable.
warrantable. Yes, warrantable items within the home and not claim them, right? So it's like you own a brand new car and the side mirror doesn't work. You're not going to take it back to the dealer and get it fixed, of course.
Right.
So
yeah, you should take advantage of the warranties that are there for you. They've been paid for, and you paid for them in the cost, so you may as well utilize them.
You pay for that Tarion warranty registration, so spend the extra $500 or so and get a home inspection. It's going to be a good return on your investment. And if it isn't, then at least you got the peace of mind that you got a well-built house.
Yeah. I think the two things that I just want to say quick for new construction, for new homeowners especially. One, nail pops. Personally, leave them alone. Don't put them on your warranty. All they're going to do is come in, slap some plaster on it, leave, never show up again. So you're going to have all these marks of plaster splatter on the wall that you're going to have to sand down, probably re-add more plaster to smooth it out, and then paint. So just leave it. Either get a professional, paint the house yourself, do it all of that time. But don't waste your time with doing that under warranty. The other thing is foundations. I imagine builders get a lot of phone calls from people saying that their basement's leaking when it's actually just wicking water out of the concrete because it hasn't quite dried. So when I got mine, I would occasionally, over the first couple of months, I suppose maybe a few weeks anyways, we'd find puddles of water on the floor. I mean, and then eventually it subsided and it was fine. But it does take a little while for that to go away.
Yeah,
often it's normal. Not to say you shouldn't have it looked at or bring it to their attention, but I wouldn't get concerned about it.
Yeah, it's one of those monitor things, right? Like you identify it and then monitor it.
Yes.
And that's quite common. Same thing with cracks in the basement floor and the garage floor. That's going to happen as the house settles. In fact, a lot of people will tell you that you want it to crack marginally, right? Like obviously you don't want big gaping holes or big spaces, but you want the concrete to move and crack a little bit to settle properly. Otherwise, it's going to put pressure on your exterior walls and your exterior foundation, which could result in even more damage.
Right.
So, most builders are pretty cooperative now. If you do have things you need to claim on, they are being pretty diligent because now they want to get their customer service ratings higher and their reviews.
That's huge now.
Their reviews better, even JD Power and Consumer Reports and Tarion. They all have their rating systems for these builders, so they want to have a good name and uphold a good brand. So they are pretty good with them.
Well, and you should be critical of it because it's a big expense, and they are slapping them together pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, and it's especially these
right now.
Yeah, and these larger companies, as many of them do a great job, they're managing huge crews and lots of sub trades, and there's a lot of people involved. So there's so many variables that go into the construction of the house that you owe it to yourself to do your due diligence and making sure that everything's okay.
All right, moving on to let's just pick like the top few things, and this is something that we've talked about for the last 10 years. The upgrades that will give you a return and they won't, but it's the upgrades change now over time. Options change and value potentially on certain things change. So So if you're buying a new home, or for anybody that's buying a new home, what would you recommend as your top 5 things that you would spend money on with the builder in terms of upgrading?
I would say anything structural or anything that involves the configuration of rooms and location of walls and things like that. Like having a larger ensuite upstairs. It's much easier to renovate a larger ensuite than it is to make a larger ensuite.
So
Hardwood
just rhyme them
stairs.
off. Rhyme them off. 5 things.
Okay, bigger ensuite. As long as
Okay.
you're not sacrificing something, I wouldn't push the laundry to the basement to get a bigger ensuite.
Number 2?
Number 2, I think it's pretty standard now, but oak or maple solid hardwood stairs. Number 3, again, I think it's pretty standard, but if for some reason you're with an old school builder doing 8-foot ceilings, bump them up at least 12 inches. I don't know that there's a huge need to go to 10, although it is becoming more common now. I have people that go into houses with 9-foot ceilings and they're like, wow, are these 10-foot ceilings? So at least 9-foot ceiling.
Okay. That's it. Number 4?
You said, I thought you said 3. Did you say
5.
4?
I said 5.
Oh, shit. Flooring in areas such as kitchens and bathrooms where you have vanities and stuff like that. I think it's nice to have the entire floor done the way you want before they put the vanity and the kitchen cabinets in. I mean, if you're tearing the kitchen out, it doesn't really matter. You can upgrade it later, but most people aren't. So I think it's nice to have that done in advance, so you have the consistent floor throughout. There's not a whole lot I would do through the builder anymore.
All right, here's my top 5 things that I think somebody should consider if they're buying a new home. Top 5 upgrades, new home builders. Number 1, ceiling height. I disagree with you. I think you need to go as high as possible on all floors, including the basement. So if you have an option to upgrade your ceiling height to 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 feet, go as high as they'll let you and do it on all floors of the home. Number 2.
Keep in mind that's extra space you got to heat. At some point, it becomes excessive. It's like
if you're buying a home that they allow you to do 10, 11, or 12-foot high ceilings, you can afford the extra $50 to $100 a month in utility costs by having them.
Get a ceiling fan.
Right, exactly, and good window coverings or a UV tint on your windows.
Number 2,
tile upgrades. Because where tile is laid, it becomes very, very time consuming and potentially costly to chip up all that tile and then have new tile laid down in the future. So pick something nice, pick something that has grout that is either not going to be getting very dirty or show that it's getting very dirty, or make sure you seal that grout very well. But upgrade the tiles because you can do that at a relatively inexpensive cost.
And be picky about the grout. I find my house, there's some areas I should have complained about.
Yep.
They did a shitty job with the grout.
I agree. Number 3, I agree with you with the stairs. While most builders are providing hardwood stairs, even something as simple as the color of the stain, the pickets, the handrails, it's much, much more effective and not only cost effective, but time consuming to do it after the fact. So that's a good area to look at spending money. If you are not tearing out the kitchen and doing something custom, upgrade the cabinetry a little bit, right? Like the basic stuff that builders provide, they're really not providing something that you probably want. So getting the door faces with a little extra trim, or having corner angle cabinets, valances, things like that. usually those packages come at a very reasonable cost if you were to compare, doing it after the fact, which oftentimes you won't even be able to do.
One
Extending
thing I would
the
keep in mind is
cabinets.
I would also price out a new kitchen, because the stuff that they're giving you, not I say they, but not everybody, I'm sure. Like ours were an upgraded package, and it may look nicer and be more functional, but it's shit quality. Like my doors are falling off, the trim is peeling, like it's not
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, no, a lot of the basics, especially in the cheaper builds, right? Like,
Yes.
I won't mention any builder names, but there are builders that strategically price their home lower
Yes.
by offering cheaper materials within the home and the construction of the home. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. But I agree. I mean, my kitchen cabinets, which are now 10 years old, so natural, it's going to have some wear and tear, but they're certainly not of high quality. So keep that in mind when you're going to their design centers and things like that. Was that number 3 or 4? Number 3. So number 4, this is something I wouldn't have done 5 to 10 years ago, but now, knowing what I know in terms of what buyer demands are and living in a home that has siding, I would look at options for upgrading to a brick elevation where it eliminates most or all of the siding. It's
I
debatable.
disagree.
It's debatable. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying it's debatable, right? It depends on the cost. But I have dealt with a lot of buyers in the past that are very old school and don't want siding. I think the siding that is on our homes, it looks nice. It's very easy maintenance. It's easy to replace if need be. But I do notice that the retention of whatever temperature is inside the home fluctuates much greater, because my home is brick on the first floor and then siding on the second floor, and I do notice the difference in terms of how the temperature is retained over the second floor. And of course, that especially becomes important in the summer, where you're trying to cool down that very top floor. So depending on the cost, and
the type of house too. I mean, there's certain houses where it may be offered where it's not common to see it on it, like a higher end home, perhaps. So you have to keep in mind what you're buying, the type of neighborhood you're buying, and the type of expectations people have for those homes.
Well, yeah, and a townhome, as an example, certainly if you're attached from both sides, but any kind of townhome, I wouldn't upgrade the elevation at all. I would just take whatever the cheapest option would be.
Yes, from a resale perspective, like you're not going to get that money back.
Right. Well, even from your own satisfaction of what I was just talking about, if you're protected on one side or both sides, it becomes less important.
Right.
But a detached home, might be a little bit different. And then the last thing, you hit the nail on the head, is configurations of bathrooms. So specifically adding that second sink in, or enlarging the size of the bathroom, especially in the master bath. The master bath, are you regretting that you didn't do that now, by the way? Because I was bugging you about that for the first few years.
Yeah, I'm not, because in my house it would have sacrificed
upstairs laundry.
I don't know if it was laundry or what it was. I think it was a combination of closet, laundry, and bedroom. Just everything was a bit smaller, and a bedroom being one of the second or third bedroom. And those bedrooms are already small as it is, I would say. So I didn't want to sacrifice that.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, the unchangeable things are always what need to be focused on, right? Like, what can you not do after closing, and what can you not do for less, potentially? Like, somebody was asking me, one of our clients has a new home being built in Oakville, and she was asking if it's worth it to do the waffle ceilings, or coffered, whatever you want to call it, in the living room, dining room, and then also the smooth ceilings. And so for certain things like the waffle ceiling, the cost through the builder compared to what the cost would be for bringing a carpenter in and starting it all from scratch and having to then refinish the ceiling and all that, it would have been the same or even more to do it after the fact.
The one variable I think that's nice about doing it after with that stuff is selection. I think you're more involved and you might have better choice of trim and depth and size and stuff like that.
Perhaps.
The ceilings for sure. Different. The smooth ceilings for sure.
Smooth ceilings 100%. I wouldn't even get quotes on doing it after. Just have the builder do it, because then you got to remember, anything that you're doing with the builder also becomes warrantable. So if the if the joints in the ceiling are now pulling apart a little bit and you've got some issues in that smooth ceiling that you just got, you put it on your Tarion warranty. You do it after the fact, so sad, so bad. That's what's going to happen as time goes on. There's potentially nail pops and things that are going to happen, right?
Something like that. I think it's actually cheaper in many cases to do it in advance through the builder.
Yeah, it's a big process to do it after the fact, because you got to scrape it down properly and then you got to smooth it out and refinish it and then repaint it. So it's not an easy process. So there you go. There's some tips for those of you that are buying a new home. In episode 86, we are going to go on to talk about what you can do. Yeah, part two. We're going to talk about what you can do after you get the keys to the home. Some tips on what you should do to increase the value of your home. And I've got a few things that I'd love to talk about in that, because we see tons of resale homes all the time, and we walk into some of them and it's like, well, you got to do this and this and this to sell it. And then they do it. And then they're like, oh man, we should have done this years ago.
Yeah.
And we hear that all the time.
Do it right away and enjoy it.
Yeah. So anyways, the market is doing very, very well. The team is super, super busy. No signs of any kind of decline. So whatever CMHC's forecast was a few weeks ago has gone to the shit, because if they think that home prices are going to decline 9 to 18% or whatever that ridiculous number was, I don't know. Since they made that announcement, the prices have shot up about 3-4%.
I think they just shot themselves in the foot, because they made their criteria to get approved harder, but the other companies didn't follow suit.
That's right. Genworth is probably going to rake it in and take some of that extra business away. So, anyways, nice seeing you. Thank you for those of you that have been listening and watching. We appreciate you continuing to follow us on these podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and have the notifications on so you'll know when part 2 of this podcast comes up, episode 86. And if you're listening on any of the podcast streaming services, make sure that you give us a thumbs up and give us a follow everywhere. We appreciate it. And that's it for now.
Good luck in your offer presentation. Let me know how it goes.
Well, come on.
I know. It goes without saying, if Ariel is negotiating the sale, you should call me.
I don't often pick up my phone, so they might be getting you anyway.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody. Have a good week. Monday, June the 29th. Man, we're into July next week. Isn't that crazy?
I thought you were talking about today. You're a week ahead. Yes, 29th next week. It is flying by. It's summer. It's officially summer. Oh,
wow, this is getting posted on the 29th. That's where I'm going with that, right?
Oh, that's right. I had a blog to post, a spring blog. I guess I'll have to wait until next year.
Yeah, well, it is kind of the spring market, because we were on hiatus for 3 months there, but
Yeah.
Things are certainly heating up and looking good. So,
anyways, good luck with your offer presentation. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Episode 85.
See you next week.